Welcome to the webinar for enhancements and tips for modeling material. Today we will cover the ability to rotate and cut multiple materials at once, as well as new capabilities using parametrics that have made modeling more efficient. Today I will cover the rotate material. So if I go into the modeling, as you can see, I surface to this piece of material. And if I go to the rotate material and select it, it picks the axis that I'm going to rotate around. Now if I were to go to model, material, rotate multiple, select my material, right click OK, then it says to locate far axis point. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this point, and then I'm going to locate my second point up here. The angle of rotation, I'm going to go ahead and just put 45 degrees and hit OK. And if I rotate out, then you can see it has rotated about that axis that I picked. You can also pick one piece of, 1 point for the origin. So if I go to Model, Material, Rotate Multiple, select it, right click OK. And then I'm going to just do a free point right here. So I'm just going to pick one piece. Just going to free point, pick the same piece again, and it picks that specific origin to rotate about. So I could put in -30 if I'd like. And I'll just hit OK. Another thing we can do is we can rotate multiple materials at once. So if I just go ahead and surface to this face, then you can see the two bent plates there side by side. I'm going to construction line add material to both of them. And then I'm going to go to model, material, rotate multiple, select my material. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit both of them, right click OK. Locate my axis point. I'm going to go ahead and do construction line or intersection construction line. Pick this point. Pick the second point down here. And now it picked that axis for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do 45. If I hit OK, then and if I shift out, then you can see that it rotated about that 45 degrees about that axis that I picked. Along the same lines, you can also now, for multiple material, you can cut it at once. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this, and then I'm going to show you that in our PowerPoint, this is going to be the end result. We're going to be cutting multiple materials at once. So I'm going to cut multiple plates at like an arced curve cut. So I'm just going to go back in here. I'm going to create a plate. I'm going to just 5 feet. And the width, I'm going to make it 5 feet. Hit OK. Now I'm going to copy this over 4 more times. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to confirm the copy. All right. So now the first thing that you need to know is going to be the center of the circle. So for this one, I'm just going to say it's at 100 feet down. So I'm going to do a construction line, base construction line at 100 feet. And if I zoom out, you can see down here will be at the 100 feet down below. So then I'm also going to, along the same lines, for future, I'm going to make these two construction line add material. Select the 2 pieces of material, right click OK. So now I have, for the future, we're going to be using this one, this construction line and this construction line for the ends of the faces of the plate. And I'm going to use this one for the center of my circle. So I'm going to go ahead and do construction circle add. I'm going to pick this. For the radius, I'm going to put at 99 feet. and hit OK. And now if I zoom up, this will be the outline of the cut that I'm going to make. And just for reference, going back to the PowerPoint, so that will be along that curve. Alright, so the second thing that we're going to be doing is I'm going to need to set a construction line from the center of the circle. So I'm using intersection construction line to the tangent and the outside face of this plate. So I'm just going to use intersection construction line again. And so that created this the sloped construction line. So I'm going to do it again on the right side of the face. And that created another one. If I zoom in, I can see those two for me. So then from there, I'm going to do one perpendicular. So I'm going to create a construction line perpendicular to create that second point. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to do the intersection of the tangent and the construction line on the outside of the face. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit perpendicular. Select that sloped line that I created. And now that created that second point. I'm going to do that same thing on the right-hand side. I'm going to select that curve or the sloped line that I selected. And so now that created the second point that we're going to be creating for our cut layout. So now that we're ready for that, we're going to go to Model, Material, Cut Layout, select my material. I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. Right click, OK. For my locate my points, the first one I'm going to pick is the intersection of the tangent for the circle and the sloped line and the outside of the face. For the second point, I'm going to go ahead and come up here for the corner rounding. I'm going to turn on round corners, and I'm going to put in that radius of 99 feet. So that'll be my second point. For my third point, it's going to be on the outside of the face and the intersection of the tangent and the sloped line. Now I can go ahead and turn off the round corners, and I can go ahead and just fill out the rest of that for my cut layout. And now you can see that it created that cut for me. So I'm going to go ahead and verify the cut. And now that matches for the cut layout. The next thing that we're going to do, it can also cut through multiple materials at once. So we're going to be creating this 10-foot plate and then a 5-foot plate on top. And then we're actually going to be using a reference drawing to place over the top of that to create the cut for it. So these are the tools that we're going to be using. We're going to be importing a reference drawing. We're going to be using our offsets, which I'll talk about soon. And we're going to be using the cut layout again. So I'm going to come down here and create my plate. Rectangular plate. I'm just going to create that 10 feet. I'm going to do the width at 10 feet as well and hit OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and surface onto the top of that plate. And then I'm going to create my second plate. So I'm going to do intersection or the construction line add material. So I have this, the outside outline of the plate. And I'm going to come down here and use my offsets. How to determine your offsets. You can add this on from your toolbar configuration under the decorations. It's called the axis orientation. So this will determine what direction we need to go in for the Y and the X. I want my plate to be offset in the X direction 2 feet. In the Y direction, I want to come down -2 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and do rectangular plate add. And so instead of here, I'm going to come in my X and type in 2 feet. And then in the Y, I'm going to put -2 feet. And then I'm just going to hit escape once to get out of that box. And so now when I do the exact point or intersection construction line, you'll see that the targeted point in the center or the surface of the plate is now offset. So now that I have my first point, I don't need these offsets anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and clear them out by just selecting them and hitting backspace and then escape to get out of that command. And I'm just going to hit 6 feet because I know that's how far I want it to be. And for my material width, I'll have it 6 feet as well. And I'm just going to change my material thickness to 5 inches. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And now you can see that I have my 2 plates sitting on top of each other. I'm going to go ahead and surface to the top of that. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in my reference drawing. One thing that I do want to do is I see my elevations at 99 foot 4 and 7/16. I'm just going to put that at 100 feet. So I'm going to go to my reference elevation, put it at 100 feet so I know that my reference drawing is going to come in and sit on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my main menu. And I know I have a DWG for my reference drawing that has that cut layout on it. So I'm going to go to my drawing conversion, import reference drawing, and now I'm going to browse to my desktop because I know that's where it is, and it's called webinar.dwg. I'm going to hit open. So it just imported there. Now when I go back to my model, over on the right hand side, there's reference drawing tools. I'm going to click on that. Right now there's no reference drawings in my model. I'm going to go ahead and click add. I'm going to click on the webinar because that's the DWG I had and click OK. And now you can see it's showing up here in the pink. I can see that that's not where I want my reference point to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and click right here for now. It's still highlighted, so I'm just going to hit my set reference point. Up in my status line, I can see it says verify reference drawing reference location. That's not where I want it to be, so I'm going to right click no. And it's saying locate the reference drawing reference point, so I'm going to go ahead and come up here to the upper left hand corner. And then it says verify reference drawing reference location. I'm going to left click yes. So now that I have the reference location that I want, a reference point, I'm going to go ahead and hit this move button over on the right hand side. And now I'm going to place that on top of my plate. I can go ahead and close this. And so now I know that cut layout that I want to make. So if I go to the model, material, cut layout, I'm going to select my material. So both plates, right click OK. And for my point, I'm going to go ahead and do the exact point. And on the right hand side, you can snap to the reference drawing as well. So I want to make sure that's on. So I'm going to go ahead and select these points. Make sure the exact point's on. So I just went around the surface of that cut I know. So now you can see that cut through both, and it's asking me if I want to verify material cut, and I'm going to left click yes. So now you can see that it cut through both of them, and my reference drawing is just outlining on top. Now I don't need my reference drawing anymore, so I can click on that reference drawing tools, and I can unclick the show. Another thing that we talked about that we're going to be covering is the parametrics. One thing that some of our customers have been talking about is the wall handrail. So if I were to go to my PowerPoint, and this is what we're going to be creating with our bent rod material for the handrail. We're just going to be going down a concrete wall layout, down the slope of a stair, going around a landing, and then coming back down the second set of stairs. The tools that we're going to be using is that bent rod material parametric. It was created by Bruce Vaughn, and it was distributed in 7.323 and higher. We're going to be creating it with the offsets command again, and we're going to be doing break member apart as well. So if I go back in to my model, I'm going to go ahead and create this concrete wall layout. So if I go to just add it in, miscellaneous concrete wall layout, doesn't matter where I put it. I know I want it to be 10 feet. and then 5 feet up. And now that I'm done, I'm going to right or middle click, complete, locate it, doesn't matter. For my height, I'm going to put it at 12 feet. Okay. So now that we have our concrete wall layout, then we can start to go down and start making the handrail. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these construction lines that we don't need in this construction circle. Alright, so I'm going to do construction line add material just to get me started here. I'm going to surface to the top of this concrete wall layout. So right now I'm at the top of the 12 feet slab. And I want to start off by coming down 3 inches. So if you saw, we started off going down 3 inches here, and we're going to be offsetting in 1 foot. So I'm going to go ahead and do my relative depth. I'm going to go into the screen 3 inches. So I did the negative number there. And I'm going to do offset. So looking at my axis orientation, I'm going to offset that in 1 foot. So if I go to my run parametric, this will be in your data directory in the macro and examples from 7.323 and higher. I'm just going to show you the parametrics. I've created and I've created a new folder on my desktop just for this webinar. And it's called bentrodmaterial.py. I'm going to hit open. Now it's saying select the member to add bent rod or pipe. I'm going to select the concrete wall layout just for now. I know it's going to be an existing member, but we'll be breaking it apart later. For the starting point, I want to offset in 1 foot. So make sure you pay attention to your offsets. And then I hit escape there, just to get out of that little box. So I'm going to do intersection construction line. I'm going to select this bottom left point. And now that I don't need the offset, I'm going to come in here and clear it out. And now I know I can go down 3 inches because we're going to be offsetting the handrail from the wall 3 inches. And now we're going to start going down that slope. So I know in my X and Y what they are, so my Z has to be in and out of the screen. So we're going to go down -5 feet because we're going to be going into the screen 5 feet. And in my Y, I'm going to be offsetting it 2 feet in from the outside of this face. So I'm going to put in -2 feet. So now you can see where the point I'm picking and where it's going to be offsetting to. So that's my second point that it's picking right there. And now I want to offset 3 inches from the face of the wall. So I'm going to go ahead and pick this point. We're going to stay the same in the Z-axis because we're just going to be leveling out and going around that landing. And now I want to come up 2 feet. So I don't need this. And I'm using the online. So now that we came around that landing, then we can go, we're going to be going down that 2 feet again, down the second set of stairs. So I'm going to be going the -7, and I want to offset 1 inch from the end of the wall. So if I look here at my axis orientation, I'm going to be coming in -1 foot in the Y direction. And you can see that point. I'm going to go ahead and clear out the Y. And now when I know what direction I want to go to, so because we're just going to be connecting back into the wall, I'm going to hit in 3 because I know it needs to come in 3 inches again, and hit OK. So now that I'm done with that, I can right-click Return, and it pops up this bent rod material parametric box. For the material type, we have round bar and pipe. For right now, we're going to do the pipe, and we'll come back to the round bar attributes. For the pipe attributes, for the pipe material size, let's say I want to change that to a pipe 2. And for the fillet radius, I'm going to leave at 6. Hit OK. It's going to take a second to process it or generate it. And then we're going to rotate out. You can see that we started off, we came down the slope, leveled out at the landing, and then came back down again. Make sure you do clear out your offsets for the next command that you're about to use. So now we can see that this is still attached to the concrete wall layout, so we're going to want to break it apart. So if I go to Model, Member, Break Member Apart, I'm going to locate the material because I want it to be its own member. Right-click OK. And so now you can see that it's broken apart. If I double-click on it, I can still see the piece marks existing. So I need to go into the general information. I need to check on the main member material. Hit OK to that. And now double-click on it for the miscellaneous. I'm going to go into the status. And I can see it's still an existing member, so I'm going to change it to no. So now if I were to edit other, and now I can see the piece mark is HSS1 instead of E2. So the next thing that we're going to create is a bracket for this to attach back to the wall. So for the bracket, we're going to use that bent rod material again, but we're going to be using the round bar. And some of the tools that we're going to be using is the bent rod parametric, or bent rod material parametric. We're going to be using the offsets. We're going to be using the round plate material. We'll need to find the angle between the sloped handrail and the horizontal handrail. We're going to create assembly, load assembly, and rotate view. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and surface to the concrete wall layout. And I'm going to go ahead and construction line add material for this handrail. And I see that it doesn't give me the horizontal because I want the bottom of the handrail here. So I'm going to go ahead and construction line add. One second. Construction line add, I'm going to use the vertex point. So I have that point now. To add in the bracket, I'm going to do the run parametric again, bent rod material, open, select the member I want to add it to. I'm going to select my handrail, and then select the start. I want to actually, for my axis orientation, I want to be out 3 inches so I'm around the handrail. So I'm attaching to the handrail, and then we're going to come back in. So the first point, we're going to do -3 because we'll be coming out of the screen, or coming out 3 inches. So I'm going to select my first point. Now I'm going to be coming down 3 inches. And now I'm going to be going back into the screen. And I don't want to connect completely to the wall because we're going to be creating a round plate. So I'm going to leave that for 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go -0.25. And if I select my same point here, so I have the bracket that I want to create. So I'm going to right click return. For the material type, I'm going to go ahead and go to round bar. The bar diameter is fine. The bar fillet radius I'm going to put in at 1 foot. And all this other stuff we can leave okay. And now if I rotate out, you can see I started creating that bracket. To create the round plate, I'm going to do construction line, add material so I can get the center of that. And I'm going to make sure that my offsets are cleared out. So I'm going to go to material add, select my member, round plate, and I want to come down. Now you can see the Z and the Y. I want to come down in the Z 3 inches, so I'm at the center of that instead of trying to find the exact center of the bottom piece. So I'm going to go down 3 inches. Select my intersection and construction line, and now you can see where it's putting that targeted point down to 3 inches. I'm going to select it, and now I'm just going to go to the right 1 inch because that's my radius. And now you can see my plate diameter is 2 and my material thickness is 1/4, which is what I wanted, and hit OK. And I hit OK to that. And now you can see that I have my bracket. Now what I want to do with this is create an assembly so I can copy it down the sloped handrail part. So now that I have my bracket in, I can go to the model, save assembly, or ZA on your keyboard, or also this icon on the left-hand side, which I'll also show you when we do load assembly. I'm going to go to save assembly, select your material that you want to save the assembly in, right-click OK, select your reference point. I'm going to make sure that I have my offsets corrected, canceled out. So I want the intersection construction line. Go ahead and select that. And I'm going to call this a bracket. So now that I have that, now I need to find out the angle that this is at a slope at. So I'm going to go the ruler command, and I'm going to go along this line right here, the sloped line. And then I'm going to go along the horizontal line back to the center. And I can see it's at 34.9 degrees. If I go into this angle tab, select the angle and go into the box there, it highlights the angle in degrees for me. I can Control C to copy that and hit OK. And that's all I needed out of that for right now. I'm going to offset this construction line 2 feet 3 different times for the future, just to show you guys. So the first point that we're going to be selecting, we're going to insert that assembly right here. So on the left-hand side where I said the icon, there's load assembly, and the save assembly is right above it. Select the member I want to add it to. I'm going to select my handrail. I'm going to select the assembly, the bracket. I'm going to locate it with my intersection construction line so it's at the slope and at this perpendicular line. And then if I zoom in, I can see it's in the right place, but it's not in the right rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm the location, so yes. But now I need to rotate it. So I see right now the coordinate system is around the member, but this isn't matching up to the axis orientation that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and do the coordinate system to global, and I can see that it's matching up with what I need for the rotation. So if I go into my Y and I Control V to paste it, and I go into a different box, I can see that I needed to go the other way. So if I put a negative number there, then I can see it's at the right rotation. And I'll hit OK. Another way to do this is I could have gone to my Navigate pull down and Rotate View. And I could have gone my vertex. I could have gone along this sloped line. And then it rotates it for me. And you can see it rotated at 34.9025 degrees, which is what the slope I measured at. I do construction line add material, and I come over 4 feet because I knew they were in 2 feet increments. I can do the load assembly again, select my member, select the bracket, do intersection construction line, and it put it in there at the correct degrees. And then I'll confirm it, and hit OK. And I'm just going to rotate back out. So now you can see that there's two different ways of loading the assembly. Now let's say I wanted to copy these down. On our website, if you were to go to log into our support page and scroll down, and you'll see Parametrics and helper functions. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see material copy and material mirror. These are to 7.318 and higher. You can just download those and put them in your macro examples folder, or what I did is I just placed them in a folder on my desktop for this webinar. So the copying material, this is what it's going to end up like. So we have 4 different brackets coming down the slope. We already have our 2 in here, so we just need to create 2 more. And this is kind of an example of what it's going to look like. So if I were to run Parametric and go to Model Copy and hit Open, locate my materials I want to copy. I'm going to select both of these pieces right here. Right-click OK. And it's saying the rows. So picture it like how we had it for the rotate view, how many rows we want. Look at it that way. So we want 2 more rows. And the row spacing we want is at 2 feet. And we don't want any columns because we don't want any down here or up on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Locate my reference point. I'm going to locate that first point at the intersection construction line. And my offset point. If you were to pick the same point again on top, it will duplicate the material. So I want to offset that 2 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and select the intersection construction line here. I just created that construction line earlier. And then it says locate your row direction. So I want to go along this vertex here, or along the slope. So I'm going to do that. And then locate your column direction. I'm just reading everything from the status line. And right now it doesn't matter because our columns, we don't have any. So I'm just going to go down. And now you can see that it copied it down that slope for me. If I were to show an example of the copy for columns and the rows, if I were to go select this, model copy for the rows, let's say I want 2. For the spacing, I want it 10 feet because that's how far that plate is. For columns, I'll have 2, and I'll have that at 10 feet as well because that's the width and height. If I hit OK, my reference point, and then my offset location, I want that over. My row direction, I want that to the right. And my column direction, I want that up and down. And now you can see that it copied those plates for me. Now if I were to pick the same one, it would have just duplicated the material over